Your bank account is a perfect mirror of your philosophy about money. Your relationships reflect exactly how you think about love and connection. Your health shows precisely how you treat your body. Right now, this very moment, your entire life is nothing more than a collection of results from the choices you've made and the daily habits you've practiced. Most people spend their entire lives waiting for something outside themselves to change their circumstances. They're waiting for the right opportunity, the right person, the right economy, the right timing. But here's what successful people understand, that the struggling masses never figure out nothing changes until you change. Who here has ever said, "I'll be happy when," and then filled in the blank? Raise your hands. Look around you. Nearly everyone. That's the first sign you're living life backwards. You're making your internal state dependent on external circumstances. You're giving away your power to create the life you want. Let me tell you about Sarah, a woman I knew who worked as a receptionist for 12 years. Same desk, same routine, same complaints every single day. She'd come home and tell her husband how unfair her boss was, how she deserved better, how the company didn't appreciate her talents. Sound familiar? She had a master's degree in business, but somehow convinced herself that she was stuck. One Tuesday morning, something shifted. Her boss walked by her desk and made a comment about how some people are just meant to answer phones. Instead of her usual internal rage and external compliance, something snapped inside her. Not anger this time, but clarity. She realized she had been choosing this life every single day for 12 years. Nobody was holding her hostage. She was holding herself hostage. That afternoon, she went home and did something she'd never done before. She took complete responsibility for her situation. Not partial responsibility while blaming circumstances. Complete responsibility. She looked in the mirror and said, "Sarah, you created this life. Every choice, every day you stayed. Every excuse you made. You created this." The next morning, she started arriving at work 30 minutes early. Not because her boss asked her to, but because she decided to become the kind of person who goes above and beyond. She stopped complaining about her coworkers and started looking for ways to help them succeed. Instead of doing the minimum required for her job, she started doing things that weren't her job. Within 6 months, she was promoted to administrative assistant. Within a year, she was managing a team. Within 3 years, she was earning more than her former boss and had been offered positions at 2 competing companies. The same building, the same economy, many of the same people. But Sarah had become a different person. What changed? Her circumstances? No. Her philosophy changed, which changed her actions, which changed her results. Here's what most people miss about manifestation. It's not about thinking positive thoughts and waiting for the universe to deliver. It's about becoming the person who naturally attracts what you desire. Your outer world will always reflect your inner world. Always. Think about a farmer for a moment. Does a farmer plant corn and expect to harvest tomatoes? Of course not. Does a farmer plant seeds in the spring and expect to harvest that same week? Never. The farmer understands natural law. Plant the right seeds, tend them properly, wait for the natural timing, and the harvest comes automatically. Your life works exactly the same way. Your daily habits are the seeds you're planting. Your thoughts, your actions, your responses to challenges, your consistency in small things, these are all seeds. And just like farming, you can't plant negative seeds and expect a positive harvest. But here's where it gets interesting. Most people are planting seeds of mediocrity every single day and wondering why their life feels average. They wake up and immediately check what other people are doing instead of focusing on their own growth. They complain about their circumstances instead of improving their skills. They consume more than they create. They react to life instead of responding with intention. Let me ask you something. And I want you to really think about this. What seeds did you plant yesterday? In your mind, in your relationships, in your work, in your health? Were they seeds that will grow into the life you want, or seeds that will keep you exactly where you are? The most successful people I've studied all share one characteristic. They understand that success is not an event, it's a process. They don't look for the big breakthrough moment. They focus on small, consistent improvements every single day. Take your morning routine. Right now, most of you wake up and your first thought is about what you have to do today, what problems you need to solve, what you're worried about. Successful people wake up and their first thought is about who they're becoming. They start each day with intention instead of reaction. A successful person might spend the first 30 minutes of their day reading something that improves their mind. An average person spends the first 30 minutes checking messages and consuming other people's thoughts. One approach plants seeds of growth. The other plants seeds of distraction. Here's another example. When faced with a problem, an average person asks, "Why is this happening to me?" A successful person asks, "How is this making me stronger?" Same problem, completely different seed being planted. One creates victimhood. The other creates strength. Your responses to daily challenges are some of the most important seeds you plant. Every time you choose to solve problems instead of complaining about them, you're planting seeds of capability. Every time you choose to learn from criticism instead of defending yourself, you're planting seeds of wisdom. Every time you choose to persist through difficulty instead of quitting, you're planting seeds of resilience. But here's what's beautiful about this process. Once you understand it, manifestation becomes effortless. You're not trying to force outcomes anymore. You're simply planting the right seeds and trusting the natural process. When you become the kind of person who consistently plants seeds of excellence, excellence becomes your natural harvest. When you become the kind of person who plants seeds of value in every interaction, valuable relationships become your natural harvest. When you become the kind of person who plants seeds of health every day, vitality becomes your natural harvest. The key word there is become. Most people want to have different results without becoming a different person. They want the harvest without changing their planting habits. That's like wanting to speak French without learning French. It violates natural law. So here's what I want you to understand. Every single day you're becoming someone. The question is, who are you becoming? Are you becoming the person who naturally attracts what you desire? Or are you becoming the person who keeps creating what you already have? Your current results are simply feedback about who you've been becoming up until now. They're not permanent unless you are. Change who you're becoming and your results must change. That's not positive thinking. That's natural law. The most successful people I know have learned to fall in love with the process of becoming. They don't wait until they achieve their goals to feel successful. They feel successful because they're consistently becoming the person who achieves those goals. And here's the really powerful part. When you fall in love with becoming, the having takes care of itself. When you focus on planting the right seeds every day, you stop worrying about when the harvest will come. You know it's coming because you understand the process. This is why manifestation feels effortless for some people and impossible for others. The people for whom it feels effortless have aligned themselves with natural principles. They've become the person who naturally creates what they want. The people for whom it feels impossible are trying to get different results while remaining the same person. Think about this. If you plant apple seeds, you don't have to try to make apples grow. You don't have to visualize apples or affirm that apples are coming. You simply plant the seeds, tend them properly, and apples grow naturally. Your life works the same way, but most people are planting apple seeds and wondering why they're not getting oranges. Or they're planting weed seeds and wondering why their garden doesn't look beautiful. The problem isn't with the process. The problem is with the seeds they're choosing to plant. So as we move forward, I want you to start thinking about your life in terms of seeds and harvests. Every thought is a seed. Every action is a seed. Every response to challenge is a seed. And the beautiful thing about understanding this is that you can start planting different seeds right now, today, this moment. You don't have to wait for permission. You don't have to wait for perfect conditions. You don't have to wait for more education or better circumstances. You can start becoming the person who naturally creates what you want, starting right now. The question isn't whether this works. Natural law always works. The question is whether you'll align yourself with it or keep fighting against it. And that choice, like every other choice in your life, is completely up to you. Now that you understand the power of planting the right seeds, here's what separates those who manifest effortlessly from those who struggle. They recognize that life moves in predictable patterns, and they've learned to work with these patterns instead of against them. Every successful person I've studied has discovered this truth. Life doesn't happen randomly. There are seasons to your success just like there are seasons in nature. There are times for planting, times for cultivating, times for harvesting, and times for rest. Most people fail because they're trying to harvest when they should be planting, or they're resting when they should be cultivating. Who here has ever noticed that challenges seem to come in groups? Raise your hands. You'll go months with everything flowing smoothly. Then suddenly everything seems to go wrong at once. Your car breaks down, you have problems at work, and relationship issues all surface in the same week. You think you're cursed, but you're not. You're simply experiencing one of life's natural patterns. Here's what successful people understand that struggling people don't. These difficult periods aren't punishments. They're preparation. They're life's way of making you stronger, wiser, more capable. Every challenge you face is developing skills you'll need for your next level of success. Think about how a muscle grows. It doesn't grow when you're resting. It grows when you're putting it under stress, creating tiny tears that heal back stronger. Your character works exactly the same way. Your problem-solving abilities, your resilience, your confidence, they all grow during the challenging seasons, not the easy ones. But here's the pattern most people miss. Right after your most difficult challenges, your biggest opportunities always appear. Always. It's not coincidence. It's natural law. Life tests your readiness before it promotes you. I knew a man named Robert who lost his job during an economic downturn. 23 years with the same company, and suddenly he was unemployed at 52 years old. He spent the first month feeling sorry for himself, angry at the company, worried about his future. Sound familiar? Then something shifted. He realized this wasn't happening to him. It was happening for him. He started viewing his unemployment not as a crisis, but as an opportunity to finally pursue what he'd always wanted to do. He'd talked for years about starting his own consulting business, but never had the courage to leave his secure job. During his unemployment, he took 3 months to really study his industry, identify problems that weren't being solved, and develop solutions. He used his severance pay not just to survive, but to invest in learning new skills. He read books, took courses, talked to potential clients to understand their needs. When he finally launched his consulting business, he wasn't starting from scratch. He was starting from a place of preparation. Within 2 years, he was earning twice what he made at his old job. Within 5 years, he had a team of 12 consultants working with him. The crisis that looked like an ending was actually a beginning. But here's the key. Robert's success didn't happen because he got lucky. It happened because he recognized the pattern. He understood that his job loss was the challenging season that was preparing him for his opportunity season. Instead of fighting the pattern, he worked with it. This brings us to one of the most important principles of effortless manifestation. Your response to challenges determines your results more than the challenges themselves. Two people can face identical difficulties and create completely different outcomes based on how they respond. Average people respond to challenges by asking, "Why me?" Successful people respond by asking, "What is this teaching me?" Average people look for someone to blame. Successful people look for ways to grow. Average people wait for the challenge to pass. Successful people use the challenge to become stronger. Here's another pattern. Successful people recognize opportunities don't announce themselves. They often come disguised as problems or extra work. The person who gets promoted isn't the one doing the minimum required. It's the person who sees problems others ignore and solves them without being asked. Every day you're surrounded by opportunities that look like inconveniences. The difficult customer who's complaining could become your biggest advocate if you handle their problem exceptionally well. The project nobody else wants to do could be the one that showcases your unique abilities. The skill everyone says is too hard to learn could be the one that makes you irreplaceable. But most people only see the inconvenience. They miss the opportunity entirely because they're focused on avoiding discomfort rather than growing through it. They want the rewards of success without the requirements of success. Let me share another pattern with you. Successful people understand timing. They know when to push hard and when to be patient. They recognize that everything in life has natural timing, and fighting against that timing creates unnecessary struggle. There's a time to plant your seeds through learning and preparation. There's a time to cultivate by taking consistent action even when you don't see immediate results. There's a time to harvest by capitalizing on the opportunities your preparation has created. And there's even a time to rest and reflect before beginning the cycle again. Most people are terrible at reading these seasons. They want to harvest immediately after planting. They give up during the cultivation phase because they don't see quick results. They miss their harvest season because they're not paying attention to the signs that opportunity is ready. Think about when opportunities have appeared in your life. Were you paying attention? Did you recognize them as opportunities? Or did you dismiss them because they required effort or involved risk? How many opportunities have you walked past because you were waiting for something easier or more obvious? Here's what I've observed. The biggest opportunities usually come at the most inconvenient times. They require you to stretch beyond your comfort zone. They ask you to become more than you currently are. That's not a bug in the system. That's a feature. Life only offers you opportunities that match your level of development. If you want bigger opportunities, you need to become a bigger person. If you want easier success, you need to become more capable. The opportunity that seems too hard today will seem manageable once you've grown into it. This is why successful people never complain about challenges being difficult. They understand that difficult challenges create capable people, and capable people attract better opportunities. They're not trying to avoid difficulty. They're trying to grow through it. Here's another critical pattern. Your current problems are preparing you for your future success. The skills you're developing while solving today's challenges are exactly the skills you'll need for tomorrow's opportunities. If you're dealing with difficult people right now, you're developing people skills that will serve you when you're managing larger teams. If you're struggling financially right now, you're learning money management skills that will serve you when you have more money to manage. If you're facing health challenges right now, you're developing discipline and self-care habits that will serve you for the rest of your life. But most people resist their current challenges instead of learning from them. They're so focused on getting out of their current situation that they miss the lessons their current situation is trying to teach them. Then they wonder why they keep facing the same types of problems over and over. Here's the truth. You'll keep facing variations of the same challenge until you learn what that challenge is trying to teach you. Life is persistent about your education. It will keep presenting you with opportunities to develop the same skill until you develop it. Some of you have been dealing with the same types of relationship problems for years. Others keep facing the same financial struggles. Others keep running into the same work conflicts. These aren't coincidences. These are patterns showing you exactly what you need to learn. The fastest way to move past any recurring challenge is to stop resisting it and start learning from it. Ask yourself, what skill is this situation trying to develop in me? What strength is this challenge building? What lesson am I supposed to learn here? Once you learn the lesson, the challenge naturally resolves or becomes much easier to handle. You've developed the capability the challenge was meant to create. Now life can present you with new challenges that develop new capabilities. This brings us to one of the most powerful principles of working with life's patterns. You can actually predict when opportunities are coming by paying attention to the challenges you're facing. The bigger the challenge, the bigger the opportunity that's being prepared. When you're going through an unusually difficult period, instead of asking, when will this end? Start asking, what is this preparing me for? Instead of trying to escape the difficulty, start looking for what you're supposed to be learning or developing. Successful people have learned to get excited during challenging periods because they know opportunity is coming. They don't waste energy feeling sorry for themselves or wishing things were different. They invest their energy in growing through the challenge so they'll be ready when opportunity arrives. Here's how you can start applying this immediately. Every time you face a problem this week, instead of your first response being frustration or worry, make your first response curiosity. Ask yourself, what is this situation trying to teach me? What skill is it trying to develop? What strength is it building? When you approach challenges with curiosity instead of resistance, everything changes. Problems become puzzles to solve rather than disasters to endure. Difficulties become development opportunities rather than reasons to complain. Setbacks become setups for comebacks rather than evidence that life is unfair. This shift in perspective doesn't just change how you feel about challenges. It changes how quickly you move through them and what you gain from them. People who approach challenges with curiosity solve them faster and grow more from the experience. They also position themselves perfectly for the opportunities that always follow challenging periods. While others are still recovering from the difficulty, they're already prepared for what's next. They've used the challenging season to develop exactly the capabilities they'll need for their opportunity season. The people who manifest effortlessly aren't lucky. They're not avoiding challenges. They're working with life's natural patterns instead of fighting against them. They've learned to plant during planting season, cultivate during cultivation season, and harvest during harvest season. Most importantly, they've learned to recognize which season they're in right now and respond appropriately. They don't waste energy wishing they were in a different season. They maximize the season they're actually in. So which season are you in right now? Are you in a planting season where you need to be learning and preparing? Are you in a cultivation season where you need to be taking consistent action even without immediate results? Are you in a harvest season where opportunities are available but you need to act quickly? Or are you in a rest season where you need to reflect and plan for the next cycle? Understanding which season you're in and responding appropriately is the key to making manifestation feel effortless. You're not fighting against natural timing anymore. You're flowing with it. And when you flow with natural patterns instead of against them, success becomes inevitable rather than impossible. You now understand which season you're in and how to work with life's natural patterns. But here's where most people stumble. They know what to do, but they sabotage themselves before they can do it consistently. They understand the principles, but they have internal programs running that prevent them from applying those principles. How many of you have ever made a decision to change your life, felt excited about it for a few days, then gradually slipped back into your old patterns? Be honest. Raise your hands. Look around. This happens to almost everyone because they never address the real problem. The real problem isn't lack of knowledge. The real problem is self-sabotage. Self-sabotage isn't dramatic. It's not you consciously deciding to destroy your success. It's subtle. It's the in your head that says, I'll start tomorrow when you know you should start today. It's finding reasons why this opportunity isn't quite right when you know it's exactly what you need. It's being too busy to do the important things while somehow finding time for everything else. Most people think self-sabotage comes from fear of failure. That's only half the story. Many people sabotage themselves because they're afraid of success. Success means responsibility. Success means people will have higher expectations of you. Success means you can't blame your circumstances anymore. Success means you'll have to become someone different than who you are today. Let me tell you about David, a talented salesperson who could never seem to break through to the next level. He'd have a great month, get close to the company record, then somehow have a terrible month that brought his average back down. This pattern continued for 3 years. When we analyzed what was happening, we found that every time David got close to outstanding success, he would unconsciously start making small mistakes. He'd skip prospecting calls he normally made. He'd avoid following up with his best prospects. He'd find excuses to take time off right when momentum was building. David's internal program was set for good enough. Somewhere in his mind, he believed that if he became too successful, he'd lose something important. Maybe his coworkers wouldn't like him anymore. Maybe his family would expect too much from him. Maybe he'd have to maintain that level of success forever. Once David recognized this pattern, he could address it. He realized that his fear of success was costing him more than success ever could. Within 6 months of identifying and eliminating his self-sabotage patterns, he broke every company record and was promoted to sales manager. This brings us to the first step in eliminating self-sabotage. You must become aware of your internal programs. Most of your thoughts and behaviors are automatic. You're running mental software that was installed years ago, often during childhood, and you've never questioned whether that software is serving you today. Here's a simple way to identify your self-sabotage patterns. Look at the areas of your life where you keep getting the same unsatisfying results, despite trying different approaches. If you keep having the same types of relationship problems, there's a self-sabotage program running. If you keep struggling with money despite learning about finances, there's a self-sabotage program running. If you keep starting projects but never finishing them, there's a self-sabotage program running. The pattern reveals the program. Once you can see the pattern, you can change it. Most self-sabotage comes from 3 sources: limiting beliefs about what you deserve, fear of what success will require from you, and attachment to your current identity. Let's address each one. Your beliefs about what you deserve were mostly formed before you were 10 years old. If you grew up hearing money doesn't grow on trees, or good things don't last, or people like us don't get opportunities like that, those beliefs are still running in your subconscious. They're limiting what you'll allow yourself to receive. Here's how to identify your limiting beliefs. Complete this sentence honestly. I want to be successful, but whatever comes after but is likely a limiting belief. I want to be wealthy, but money corrupts people. I want to be recognized for my work, but I don't want to seem arrogant. I want to take risks, but what if I fail? Each limiting belief creates self-sabotage behaviors. If you believe money corrupts people, you'll unconsciously avoid opportunities to make more money. If you believe recognition makes you arrogant, you'll downplay your achievements. If you believe failure is devastating, you'll avoid taking necessary risks. The second source of self-sabotage is fear of what success will require. Most people want the results of success, but not the responsibilities of success. They want the income, but not the pressure. They want the recognition but not the scrutiny. They want the freedom but not the discipline that creates freedom. Success requires you to become more disciplined, more consistent, more responsible. It requires you to make decisions that others won't make. It requires you to persist when others quit. It requires you to grow when others stay comfortable. If you're not willing to pay these prices, you'll sabotage yourself before you have to pay them. The third source is attachment to your current identity. You've been a certain type of person for so long that it feels like that's who you are. You're not a morning person, or not good with money, or not someone who takes risks. These identity statements become self-fulfilling prophecies. Every time you're about to act in a way that contradicts your current identity, internal resistance kicks in. If you see yourself as someone who struggles financially, you'll find ways to struggle even when opportunities for abundance appear. If you see yourself as unlucky in relationships, you'll sabotage good relationships to maintain consistency with that identity. Here's how to start eliminating these self-sabotage patterns. Instead of trying to fight them directly, start building new patterns that naturally replace them. This is much more effective than trying to stop negative behaviors through willpower alone. The most powerful way to build new patterns is through daily disciplines. Small, consistent actions that align with who you want to become. These disciplines serve two purposes. They create the practical results you want, and they reshape your identity through consistent evidence of your new capabilities. Let me give you the 5 daily disciplines that create the foundation for effortless manifestation. These aren't complicated, but they're powerful when practiced consistently. First discipline. Start each day by deciding who you're going to be that day. Not what you're going to do, but who you're going to be. Are you going to be someone who finds solutions, or someone who finds problems? Someone who adds value or someone who takes value? Someone who responds to challenges with curiosity, or someone who reacts with frustration? This takes 2 minutes but sets the tone for everything that follows. When you consciously choose your identity each morning, you stop being at the mercy of your moods or circumstances. Second discipline. Spend at least 15 minutes every day learning something that moves you toward your goals. Read books, listen to educational audio, take courses, study successful people in your field. Your mind is either growing or shrinking. There's no neutral. If you're not deliberately putting valuable information into your mind, you're allowing it to be filled with whatever happens to cross your path. Third discipline. Take at least one action every day that moves you toward your most important goal. Even if it's small, the size of the action matters less than the consistency. You're building the habit of daily progress and proving to yourself that you're the kind of person who follows through on commitments. Fourth discipline. End each day by reviewing what went well and what you learned. This isn't about judging yourself harshly for mistakes. It's about extracting value from every experience and reinforcing positive patterns. What you focus on expands. When you focus on what's working and what you're learning, you create more of both. Fifth discipline. Surround yourself with information, people, and environments that support your growth rather than your old patterns. If you want to think differently, you need different inputs. If you're consuming the same information and spending time with the same people, you'll keep thinking the same thoughts and getting the same results. These 5 disciplines might seem simple, but simple doesn't mean easy. The challenge isn't understanding what to do. The challenge is doing it consistently, especially when you don't feel like it. Here's what separates successful people from everyone else. They do what needs to be done whether they feel like it or not. They understand that feelings follow actions, not the other way around. They don't wait to feel motivated. They take action and motivation follows. Average people wait for inspiration to take action. Successful people take action to create inspiration. Average people need to feel confident before they'll try something new. Successful people know that confidence comes from competence, and competence comes from practice. This is why daily disciplines are so powerful. They build competence through consistent practice. Every day you follow through on your disciplines, you're proving to yourself that you're reliable. You're building self-trust. You're reshaping your identity from someone who has good intentions to someone who takes consistent action. But here's the key to making disciplines sustainable. Start small and be consistent rather than starting big and burning out. Better to read for 10 minutes every day than to read for 3 hours once a week. Better to exercise for 15 minutes daily than to work out intensely twice a month. Consistency creates compound results. Intensity without consistency creates frustration. Most people try to change too much too fast. They want to transform their entire life overnight. This overwhelms their system and triggers resistance. Instead, choose one discipline and practice it for 30 days until it becomes automatic. Then add another discipline. Your goal isn't to be perfect. Your goal is to be consistent. There will be days when you miss your disciplines. That's normal. The key is to get back on track immediately, rather than using one missed day as an excuse to quit entirely. Here's something powerful to understand. Every time you follow through on a commitment to yourself, you're making a deposit in your self-confidence account. Every time you break a commitment to yourself, you're making a withdrawal. Your level of self-confidence is simply the balance in that account. People with high self-confidence aren't born that way. They've made more deposits than withdrawals. They've proven to themselves through consistent action that they can be trusted to do what they say they'll do. This is why daily disciplines are so transformative. They're not just creating external results. They're rebuilding your relationship with yourself. They're proving that you're the kind of person who keeps commitments, who follows through, who can be trusted with bigger opportunities. When you trust yourself completely, manifestation becomes effortless. You're not fighting internal resistance anymore. You're not sabotaging your progress. You're aligned. Your thoughts, your beliefs, your actions, and your identity are all pointing in the same direction. The person who has eliminated self-sabotage and built strong daily disciplines doesn't have to try to manifest their goals. Their goals manifest naturally because they've become the person who naturally creates those results. They've planted the right seeds consistently. They've worked with life's natural patterns, and they've eliminated the internal barriers that prevented their success. This is the key to effortless manifestation. Become the person who naturally attracts what you desire, not through tricks or techniques, but through consistent daily disciplines that reshape your identity and align your entire being with your goals. The question isn't whether this works. The question is whether you'll do the work to become that person. And that choice, like every choice that determines your destiny, starts today with what you decide to do in the next 24 hours.